I have refused consent for all forced magic of any kind, in any form, from any source in existence, to be forced on any level, dimension, or timeline of my being at any time for any reason. I have refused consent to being harmed, raped, tortured. The only ones I'm speaking to are those true, authentic, organic, benevolent beings who find themselves forcibly targeted and tortured with technology, frequency weaponry. As well as entities forcibly attaching to them against the revocation of their consent. I'm just going to say some things. This might be kind of a rant. In the bigger scheme of things, the bigger picture, there is no justification or reason to be tortured and raped and harmed for years on end, by dead entities who have access to technology. I think that there have been benevolent beings who find themselves forcibly targeted and tortured, who have tried to find some kind of a reason for what was being forced on them. There are those who have called it some kind of a test. Some kind of a learning experience. But if you've spent any length of time here, you should know that this is not a school. If it were a school, then at some point one would graduate. If it were school, the more that you learn, the more growth one goes through, the more abilities and skills one comes into, would only help to improve one's life. Those skills and abilities would be able to be utilized by the true benevolent being that has come through the hardship and the trauma. Things would get better. Things would improve. Every time that benevolent being overcomes another challenge, things should become easier. With the learning of the knowledge and the experience, and going through the experience, acquiring abilities and skills. In this place, I mean, I'm not saying one cannot learn here, and I'm not saying that one cannot grow here. Those things do happen. However, there should be a reciprocity with the universe, with the environment, in that as one learns and grows and acquires skills and expands their abilities and continues to overcome the basic challenges of this place, that at some point that benevolent being has learned to master this place, that environment, has acquired the skills and the abilities to go further, to go beyond. And as each year of this forced fucking torture and rape has been being forced on me, there should come a point where things improve, where you go beyond their reach. One would think that the universe, since I've been doing the work, and with all that's been being forced, the trauma and the rape and the harm and the torture, there should be assistance coming from the universe itself to remove the entities, the parasites, the forced technology, the forced clones. Because they are in the wrong. They shouldn't be here. They are in the wrong. They are in violation of all universal laws a gazillion times over. They are guilty of massive crimes against humanity. They're dead. They're parasites. They shouldn't even be here. So the universe, the real universe, or this this multiverse, some look at it like that. I mean, I don't want to get into all that. It does seem like it's possibly a multiverse, right? But this universe should favor organic life, true, authentic, organic, alive, vibrating beings over dead entities, over dead parasites. Especially for benevolent, alive, vibrating beings who are taking steps or taking actions to try and correct the wrongs here, to try and help remove the evil, remove the entities trying to force it, basically trying to do something about something, right? Trying to make this a better place, trying to help others. You would think at that point the universe would see that benevolent being is taking actions and steps to correct things, to make things better, to assist others, and then benevolently assist that being do those things in whatever way it can. Especially with a benevolent being's refusal of consent for forced technology, forced clones and clone connections, forced torture and rape via frequency weaponry. Every day, all day, since the first intrusion. I think there is a reasonable, sane expectation for greater assistance when one has been doing the work, going through the challenges, trying to address the wrong that's being forced, that has been overcoming. The forced trauma and the forced hardship. And is able to actually protect and defend themselves, but the entities are still using the technology to cheat. There is no organic order to things. There are universal laws. That are in place to keep the balance. A system of checks and balances. So that you don't end up, or a place doesn't end up with dead entities running amok with frequency weaponry. And it's, I have to say, it's kind of astounding that the real universe itself has yet to correct those violations, considering that they are dead entities that should not be animated, and they're using technology to interfere and fuck with the very laws that govern outside of this place and outside of this place. So then one has to start asking bigger questions. There is no justification for forced torture, rape, and harm on one's being for years. Especially by dead entities that have access to frequency weaponry. Like, there is no justification. There is no reason for that to be going on, for that to be being forced. It goes to bigger questions outside of this place that go to the very foundation of what existence is, what life is. So seemingly, aspects or parts of this universe and outside of this place have gone awry. There are issues with the organic order, natural order of things. When the universe itself doesn't seem to be assisting true benevolent life force energy. When the universe itself doesn't seem to be addressing the violations and correcting them. Again, one starts to ask bigger questions. Especially since there is no justification for forced torture, rape, and harm. Mind rape via technology, frequency weaponry, forced cloning torture. Like, there is no justification for that. So why hasn't the universe itself corrected that? They're using technology to interfere with the very laws that govern this universe. Why has the universe itself not corrected that? Why haven't there been other, let's say, benevolent groups or races outside of here that have assisted to correct that, have done their duty to deal with the termination of parasites that shouldn't be in manifested creation to begin with? I mean, obviously there are extreme issues with the natural order of things. The universe doesn't seem to be assisting benevolent beings here, benevolent life force energy. It hasn't been correcting things. It hasn't been addressing their violations, removing the technology, or terminating the technology. It hasn't been, doesn't seem like it's been trying to remove dead entities from manifested creation. again, bigger questions. I mean, I've heard people say that, things are interconnected. The universe provides. Just do your inner work and learn your lessons, and things will get better. Things will work out. You'll overcome. The benevolent being will overcome. As they are taking responsibility for their inner work and themselves and their healing. And that doesn't seem to be the case in this place. I think it's a sane, logical, reasonable expectation when for someone to be expanding, for a benevolent being to be expanding in their growth and learning as they overcome trauma, as they overcome hardship. As they acquire, as that benevolent being acquires more abilities and skills. There should be improvement in life, in existence. For that benevolent being. Because they're doing the inner work. They are trying, they were working hard to heal what their inner stuff. Be the best versions of themselves. Expand, grow. Want to assist others to do the same. And by others, I mean other true, benevolent, authentic, organic, alive, vibrating beings. So I'm just really trying to point out that what is being forced here via technology, the forced mind rape, 24/7, the forced frequency torture, the forced cloning torture, that those entities engage in 24/7. There is no justification. There isn't. There is no reason. There is no justification for that. And especially once that benevolent being overcomes hardship, traumas, and challenges, and acquires more abilities and skills to better overcome, again, like at that point, that being that true benevolent being has been doing the work and refusing consent. So it's the job, it's the duty of the real universe to then step in and benevolently assist that benevolent being, to benevolently intervene on that being's behalf and make the corrections, remove the parasites, remove the technology and the forced clones. Right the wrongs, address the issue. Address the violations of those entities. I think that's a sane, logical, reasonable expectation. Those entities have seemingly been in this place for a long time and have been engaged in this shit show for a long time. I guess it's the universe, the real universe, has yet to address those violations, those entities, the massive wrong that they are engaged in, that they are trying to force. Then you have, one comes to a place where they're asking bigger questions. Nobody wants to think that the universe itself is corrupt or compromised. You would think the real universe, if there is some kind of an intelligence or awareness to the real universe itself, or whatever's outside of this place, it would have long ago figured out that there are dead entities running amok, and they're using something called technology to try and cheat. So you would think the real universe would have addressed the issue, would have corrected, would have removed the technology, would have removed the entities. Would have removed the obstructions that are interfering with universal law manifested correction and enforcement here. Technology is ancient. So why hasn't it? Why hasn't the real universe itself addressed the violation, all the violations being forced with technology by dead entities who should not be animated? We know this place is a farm. I didn't sign up for this shit. I've refused consent for all forced technologies, clones, mind rape, forced torture and harm. I've refused consent for all those. I have overcome much of what those entities have forced. And yet, they're still using technology to try and cheat. Now, some say, oh, you just have to reach a certain frequency. Or you just have to, reach a frequency out of their range. They're just not understanding that they're using the technology to cheat. I was out of their reach long ago. They're using the technology to rape. They're using the technology to access beings and things that they should not have access to. There's an artificial frequency fence surrounding this place that they use to try and obstruct manifested correction here and universal law enforcement. So what does one do then to try and achieve remedy and correction? I think this universe is at the end of a cycle. And I think this universe has had every opportunity to try and correct. Seemingly, it doesn't seem to have done those things. So this universe is on a trajectory, I would say, that's unsustainable and not favorable to alive, true, authentic, organic, vibrating beings. Many of the benevolent beings here have refused consent. Have revoked consent to those entities, to forced technology, to forced harm and rape, to forced mind rape, to forced torture 24/7, because there's no justification for it. There is no reason. There is no justification for that. It has to fucking stop. They're dead entities. They shouldn't be here. They shouldn't be anywhere near technology. They shouldn't be trying to torture, rape, and murder beings via frequency weaponry. Well, at all. They're in violation of all universal laws a gazillion times over. So there has to be correction and remedy. There must be a way to leave this place, because there must be remedy and correction. There is no justification for what they have been trying to force here. So I do think it's important for benevolent beings here to be demanding to leave, to be demanding the universe be held to account, be demanding that the universe address violations of those entities, be addressing the violation of those parasites being in manifested creation. The real universe, if there isn't an intelligence and awareness there, I would venture to say, if it is, let's say, not on the up and up, would kind of might have an outlook that is like, well, who is going to call the real universe on its bullshit? Right? What being is going to call the real universe on its bullshit? Who's going to find out? And what are they going to be able to do about it? I have called the universe on its bullshit. I am demanding that the universe take accountability, be held to account. For all of their violations, along with them, of course, in its lack of assistance, its lack of intervention. I think it's important for the benevolent beings to get to a place where they are questioning what's outside of here. They are questioning the forced violations that have been being forced by those entities here. I mean, dead entities are trying to rape astral bodies. Dead entities are using technology and clones to try and rape parts of beings. Dead entities are trying to use technology and clones to deceive universal laws. So one has to look at where that's going. What does that trajectory look like? What's the result? And obviously, that trajectory is not sustainable and not favorable. And those entities are in violation of all universal laws. And have to be removed from manifested creation. The technology has to be destroyed and vaporized. All the parasites, all the demons, all have to be terminated and removed. They do not belong here. They didn't do their work. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. They're parasites. And they're dead. They shouldn't be here. Non-existence is where those go. Entropy and or non-existence. Because how could then the real universe itself hold any true, benevolent, alive, vibrating being to account for anything? Because that kind of perception is some hypocritical, contradictory bullshit. And the real universe, whatever's outside of here, is in contradiction. And it needs to be held to account. Just a moment. Yeah, I think one just gets to a point where there are logical, reasonable outcomes, results that should be occurring and happening. And there is no justification for what the entities have been trying to force here. So we have every right to demand to leave. We have every right to demand that the universe be held to account. There must be remedy. There must be correction. Otherwise, look at the implication. This universe is seemingly corrupt and compromised. I think it's at the end of a cycle. I think it didn't do what it should have done, what it needed to do. And now look at it. I think this shit's gonna implode. The shit show is as wrong could be, and is not sustainable. Real universes don't run on dead maggots. This universe will implode under the weight of its own insanity and contradiction. And then, of course, all true, authentic, organic, live life force energy being souls get moved elsewhere to their respective environments that are sane, that are balanced. And, you know, maybe even universes fail. Maybe beings just need to recognize that as a possibility, that even a universe can fail. I mean, there should have been correction already. Those entities shouldn't still be here. The forced mind rape technology, the forced cloning technology, the forced frequency weaponry, all of that should have been terminated. All of the animated dead entities should have been yanked out of here already. So what's going on there, right? There's no justification what they have been engaged in and trying to force here. They're in violation of all universal laws a gazillion times over. And there must be correction and remedy. Otherwise, what's the implication of that? Did you sign up to be trapped on a farm? Did you sign up for animated dead entities to try and feed off of you? To try and rape parts of your being? So this horrific nightmare of a fucking shit show has to be imploded. Freeing all true, organic, alive, vibrating life force energy. Beings and souls. And I really do hope people are, benevolent beings are calling the universe on its bullshit. Demanding correction and remedy. Demanding to leave. Demanding the removal of all forced technology and clones. Demanding that all forced torture and rape and harm be stopped. Be demanding that all forced mind rape stops. And hopefully benevolent beings can muster up the courage and the fortitude to do that. In our group en masse.